Alright, so let's style this prototype page that we made, and I'm going to start with the header, and I'm going to start in the design view. The first thing I want to do is get rid of the text in the header. So that's now gone, and next thing I want to do is I'm going to put an image in there. So I have an image over here. Make sure it's the right one. I'm going to drag it up here where it wants to go in that division. And the alternative text, I'm going to say um, wrapper example image. So now it puts the image up there. I want to get rid of that background and the border. So I know this division up here is called header. So I go to the pound header up here in the CSS. I get rid of the background color and that border. So I just delete them both. Now I go to the design view, and now it's white all around that image, and that's the way I'm going to keep it. So now I've formatted the header division. Alright, so let's look at the navigation or the menu. Now here I'm probably going to want to put links, and in fact I'm going to put one to the home page. I'm going to hold down the shift bar so I get a break tag, which for you means you'll see you won't space twice, only once. So I go page 2, hold down shift, or enter page 3, and I want to make all these links. So I'm going to select home page. I'm going to make it a link to index.html, which is the name of this page, so it's going to link to itself. Not always a good practice, but for our purposes it's a good simple way to do it. And so page 2 for this link. I haven't made that page yet, but I'm going to call it page 2 and then page 3. So I have links then, or I'll call it page 3.html. 3.html. I now have pages to, I have links then to 3 pages. Now what I'm going to do with this division then, navigation, is a couple things. One of the first things I want to do is I'm going to get rid of the background. So where navigation, background color, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to, but I want to change the background color. And what I'm going to do is make it a kind of light blue. It's kind of like this at the top, but I can't match, well, it's hard to match exactly because, by the way, I shouldn't have deleted background color. Let's see, I can get background color, and I shouldn't have, for some reason the little eyedropper won't go down into that menu. So I'm going to make something, a color that's kind of like that. That looks something like it. That looks pretty close to it. And it's not perfect, but we don't want to take forever to show you just how to, just to illustrate my point. It's a little dark, but I'll leave it that way, and I'm going to go into the code and get rid of that border for the navigation. So there we go. Now when I look at the design view, there's no border around it. Now I want to make these links a different color. And the way that you change links is with a pseudo tag, or pseudo element that I showed you in a previous tutorial, but I'm going to show you another trick too. And so what I'm going to do, in fact, let's put it up here, the CSS. What I do is I want the colors of the links just to change inside the navigation division. So what I do is I start by pound nav, and then I put this pseudo element, and it's a link, and then I put the curly black brackets and I say color, and I'm going to want it to be white. and I put a semicolon, the other curly bracket. Now what this means is that whenever you're inside navigation, you put this first element here, and then, or first selector here, and then you say this pseudo selector, a link, is inside navigation. So it means whenever you're inside navigation, a link, the color will be white. And if we look at the design view, in fact, the links look white. Now the other thing is I want to make this footer the same sort of color, and so I'll go to the code view, and we got this background color, let's see, for navigations right there. Copy, and then the footer, oh, I did something wrong. Okay, copy, and then down here, paste. And you know what, I think I'm going to make I'm going to keep the border, but I'm going to make it a slightly different color. I'm going to make it a little darker. So I think we were around in here somewhere. Yeah, like, whoa. Let's go with that color. I kind of messed up the code here a little. So let's look at the design view. Oh, okay, so it's got that kind of purple thing going around it, and also, but I want those links also to be white. So I'm going to go to the code, and I'll show you this other little trick, is that you can use multiple selectors that have these same characteristics. So up here where I now have navigation, a link inside navigation is white, I can put a comma there, and I can say inside the footer, a link, and it says it's also colored white. So if I look at the design view, sure enough, now that link is white. And I also want that finally to be centered. So then for the footer, I say text align center. So now it's centered. All right, what else do I want to do? Well, let's start here with the content. The content, I want to put some content in there. Just you guys will actually have some real text, but just to fill up the space, I'm going to just copy this and put it in a bunch of times. Alright, so let's look at the design. Now I have some content. And then I want to get rid of so now this is called main. I go up on main, and I want to get rid of that background color and that border. So it should just all look basically white. Let's look at the design. Now I want to do this last kind of weird thing, and that is to use the background, an image in the background of a given division. And so I'm going to do this particularly weird thing, which is I'm going to put a picture I made of myself in the background of the main division. And so what I can do in here, first of all, I'm inside main, that ID, and I say I'm going to get some help from the code completion. I go to background image, and then browse for the image, and I know it's called Richard's face dim. And then you can see what it does is